7.
Extra Time on Tip FM is brought to you by Irish Computers Nina, your winning IT partner across the Premier County and beyond. See irishcomputers.ie.
Hello, good evening and welcome to another edition of Extra Time. My name is Ronan Quirk. We're here until 8 o'clock this evening. We'd love to hear from you. Our text number is 083 311 3311. That number works for WhatsApp messages as well. We're on Blue Sky. Our Blue Sky handle is extra time at bsky.social. Or if you want that text number again, it's 083 311 3311. Lots to talk about on tonight's show, not least of which, of course, was the county senior football final, which took place in Semple Stadium on Saturday afternoon in front of a crowd of 1,600 people, who saw Clonmel Commercials win their 22nd county senior football title with a 126-15 victory over Kilsheal and Kilcash. Let's hear from the winning manager, Tommy Morrissey, who spoke to Paul Carroll, I should say. My apologies, Paul, if you're listening. Can't even stumble over your name. Paul Carroll, Tip FM's Paul Carroll, Tommy Morrissey at the end of the full-time whistle.
Yeah, it does, Paul. It's obviously Philly's in our thoughts constantly from this time 3 weeks ago, and while we're, as a group, haven't been making reference to it in dressing rooms or anything like that, there was no need to. Like, that man will never leave our minds, and sure, we spoke about it during the week. It's just, he meant so much to all of us, so it made today extra sensitive and extra sweeter when we win it. Yeah, and like I mentioned Seamus there, his speech was such a good speech, and Seamus is a real leader. I'd imagine that the kind of group we're kind of leaning on lads like Seamus in the last few weeks. Seamus is I can guarantee you, Paul, whether it's Liam Cahill or Liam Sheedy or Eamon O'Shea, anyone back through the years that has dealt with Seamus as a player knows exactly what he is. Tipperary won a hurling All-Ireland this year, and I can promise you, knowing that man, the impact he would have had on it as a leader in that group, I can promise you, because he's huge to us. Like, he's a natural leader. He says go and we just follow, and that's the way he is. And you saw how he conducted himself in his speech, and that probably sums him up perfectly. For as I said at the start, it's the 22nd ever title. You're now out on your own on the top of the Roll of Honour. It's probably rubber stamped this kind of golden era you've had in the last 10-15 years. That you seem to be nearly rejuvenating, and there's a lot of new lads on the team, but it's been some kind of golden era for the club. Yeah, it has. There's a lot of work gone in, going back nearly 20 years at this stage, and a lot of that goes to Philly Ryan, where he would have energised, including myself, people to get in and get coaching and get involved with teams, and that has ultimately brought these players right through. And you know, we were here 7 years ago, and I was looking at the team versus today's team, and there's the guts of 10 changes. Like, that's massive over a period of time like that. But it's credit to the club and the coaching at underage to bring these players through, and hopefully there was players in the stand today in 7 years' time, they'll be on the field, and that's as a club our target, and hopefully that's the way it plays out. The game itself, it was 10 points to 1-4 at half time. You mixed the good with the bad maybe in that first half, but the second half was pretty much the best of Clonmel Commercials. And Joe, I don't know, was there anything you said at half time or whatever, but that the lads were just on another level out there in that second half? Yeah, like 10 points to 1-4, but like the goal, I was extremely disappointed with that. We didn't just filter back the middle and protect our goal, but anyway, we conceded it. So really, 10 scores to 5 scores was the way I was looking at it, Paul. And we also kicked away some needless opportunities at the other end, and I just warned the players, second half, composure, keep our hands on the ball, let the opportunity open, and it did. And I knew as well, we've a serious work done with Adrian O'Brien, our S&C, we've a serious work done fitness wise, and I knew coming into the last 15 minutes we would be stronger, and I think that's the way it played out. One score I want to mention is that goal from Michael Quinlivan. We were talking about it with Anthony Shelly there. It mightn't even be the best goal he scored in the county final because his catalogue is so deep, but you know, that was something special. It's the way he kind of moves, glides, kind of his balance is just a special player to watch. He's completely, he's so unique. Like, it's ability like that you just have to be born with. And sure, we've been watching Michael now since 2012 when he played in the county final here. 2011 won the minor All-Ireland, and we knew exactly what we had on our hands, and it's an unbelievable talent. And every time he steps on the field for Commercials, he performs, and he's so good. Like, as you said, when he has the ball in his hand, in my opinion, probably biased, but I don't think there's too many better in the country with him with the ball in hand carrying it. He's so strong at it. Yeah, he's unbelievable, and we saw that today. Finally, it's
You've the county final one now. I know you want to savour this, but it's a quick turnaround for next week now for the Munster quarter final against St Finbarrs. It's on in a Tipperary venue, back into another Munster campaign. I suppose first, have you decided where you want to play it at? And second, just it's a quick turnaround and you'll be trying your best to get the bodies right.
Yeah, we'll play it in Clonmel is the first thing, and secondly, we're delighted to be representing Tipperary now in that Munster Club Championship. It's a stage we love to be at and try and perform on. It's quick turnaround is right, but look, the reality is a bit of momentum with us, and sometimes the less thinking time you have can be good in these scenarios. So we have St Finbarrs next weekend. It'll be in Clonmel. We'll enjoy tonight. I can absolutely promise you that, and we'll get the bodies right, and we'll be training Wednesday night, please God, and ready for the weekend.
That's Tommy Morrissey, Clonmel manager, speaking after their win over Kilsheal and Kilcash in the county senior football final yesterday. Congratulations to Commercial's 22nd crown, top of the Roll of Honour, out on their own, as Paul said to you earlier. Martin Quinlivan, Commercial's chairman's on the line. How are you, Martin?
Hi Ronan, how are you?
You've seen a few over your years, Martin, not wishing to age you unduly, but where does this one rank with all that's gone on in the last fortnight, 3 weeks?
I think it's probably has to count as maybe the most special given all the circumstances. I mean, performance-wise, ironic, I think we won by 21 points. We beat JK Brackens in a final a couple of years back by the same margin. So kind of maybe producing a great performance in the county final. They've done, most of this team have done it before, but certainly with what they were faced and what what they had to deal with over the last 2 weeks, it's huge credit to them. Not just yesterday, but to find it within themselves when they're level with Upper Church, on a really bad day, and maybe some decisions they mightn't have been too happy with, but to find it in themselves to pull away and win that in the semi-final was huge, and then to back it up yesterday or on Saturday was even better. So it was a very sweet one, and as you said, top of the Roll of Honour. It's the first time ever the Commercials have been top of the Roll of Honour in its near 100-year history. So, a very proud moment for all concerned, let's say.
Yeah, I was listening to Paul Carroll reading out the starting 15 for both teams, and I thought to myself, gosh, Commercials on paper are stronger on every line than Kilshealan. And it took a complete performance. Was that the most complete performance you've seen from Commercials this year?
Yeah, well, Ronan, we've spoken over the last number of years, and we always said is, in July or August when the pitch is hard and it's a nice sunny day or a sunny evening, Commercials can run up big scores. I mean, they played Ardfinnan in the first round, ran up a big score. I think they ran up a big score against Ballina in a quarter final last year or something like that. So they've done, they've produced excellent performances. But like I said, it's and in fairness, they have a great record in Semper Stadium. I mean, I think Loughmore are the only teams that have beaten Commercials in Semper Stadium since the county finals have moved there in nearly 25 years ago now. So it's on a day like that where the pitch is firm and they're on the front foot, they're very, very hard to beat. And Kilshealan unfortunately just weren't ready for it this year. Whether I presume when they get a chance to sit down and analyse it, as they will, they'll probably know tactically they might have set up a little differently. But when you look at Commercials kind of main men and their leaders, they're 10, 12, maybe 15 years around the block at that level. That's Kilshealan's first outing at that level. And, it was a big ask for them. And I've no doubt they'll come again. And, when things calm down and, they should take the positives out of the fact that they could go toe-to-toe with Loughmore and beat them. And more so than the negatives that they would have felt on Saturday night, because that's a positive and that's a step forward. Kilshealan were always in the rank below Mile Rovers, Loughmore and Commercials purely and simply because they couldn't beat them. But they managed to beat Loughmore this year, and that's a positive they should take. Regroup. The team is very young. A little bit more condition on, a little bit more streetwise, and the learners they should take from Saturday, and there's no reason why they can't come back and be competitive again. Very quickly, and there are good people involved, both within the management and within that club, and I'm sure they will, they'll have been licking their wounds for the last few days. Unfortunately, for every great victory there has to be a defeat as well, but they shouldn't dwell on it too much. It was just, look, Ronan, it had huge similarities with the Cork Senior Hurlers in an All-Ireland final this year, didn't they, in the second half? The game just got away with them. The momentum all went with the opposition, and they just couldn't get a foothold. Commercials completely dominated the kick-out in the second half. I don't know what the stats were, but I'm sure it was well in the 90% of kick-outs Commercials won on the Kilsheelan kick-out, and that just became the platform, and the space opened up, and they capitalised, and I'm sure Kilsheelan will have some learnings from that.
We'll talk about some of the younger players in a minute, but I think we need to pay tribute to the players from Commercials who collected their 8th senior championship medal, which is quite an achievement. You're up there with, in terms of Tipperary club players who've won 8 or more senior titles. I mean, there's a couple of Sarsfield's lads from the 50s and 60s, but there's not too many others.
No, I think they're first in football. I'm sure now the text will fly in if I'm wrong on that. But I know that we always assumed that, I think Robbie Boland and Liam Cronin with Mile Rovers had 7. And I think Tommy Sheen and Buddy Fitzgerald and Federt might have had a similar number. And obviously, Commercials joined them 2 years ago. I think there was 6 of the lads involved. Some have moved on in the meantime. So yeah, I mean, look, obviously you're talking about Seamus Kennedy, Michael Quinlivan, who've been on the field to play for all of those 8. And then I think Donald Lynch and Kevin Fahey. Kevin was 16, I think, in 2012, but was in around the panel. Donald Lynch is obviously 36 this year, but was still in around the panel and was one of our mainstays on the intermediate team. So, they've all now can count 8 medals in their.
Coleman probably was away for 1 or 2 when he was in the
Coleman was
States.
in America, you'll remember. Yeah, he did the soccer scholarship in America. I think his brother Jack and Ross Peters have 7. But look, they're numbers running, you know what I mean? As in, I'm sure the 8 will be beaten in the not too distant future by maybe some of their teammates. Johnny O'Connor is only 24 years of age, or 25. I think he's 5 county medals already. So, as long as Commercials stay competitive, and there's no reason to believe they won't, then I'm sure that record won't last too long. At least we hope so. But it's a very nice one to be the first one to get to 8, because the men that I mentioned who were on 7, and I think Declan Brown would have had 7, but I think he missed 1 year through injury around 2000. Some of the greats of tip football. You know what I mean? That I just mentioned, and to be spoken in the same bracket of them is a testament to those that achieved it. And certainly one at a personal level that they'll be very proud of. But I think it was, and I know speaking to them, I know they felt this one was nearly the most special of them all, given, as we've mentioned, started the interview with, given the circumstances.
Yeah, of course. And some of the younger players, I mean, young Thomas Charles coming on for Fahey after only 15 minutes. Throw him into a county final, and he performed really, really well, I thought. Smith in the corner forward position again, contributing. These are young fellas who, I think they're going to be playing for a long time. Yeah,
I thought Peter McGarry, actually, in fairness to him,
he had a fine performance.
Was the best player on the field. With the second half, the ball didn't roll to him, but must have been in the conversation for man of the match. Yeah, Keane Smith. Look, Keane Smith, in fairness, was probably Tip's best player in the intercounty season this year. And has carried his form in with the club, and we overlook Shawnee O'Connor and his contribution, but Shawnee is nearly always the top scorer at every game, and very good on the frees. But another man, maybe not one of the young fellas, but I thought was really back to his very, very best, was Jack Kennedy. Jack captained Tip in 2024, and he captained Commercials in 2024, and without success, we'd say. And I know that affected him. He went away for a while overseas for a bit of travelling over to America, but he's back. And I thought, now, in fairness, last Saturday was Jack's best performance, in the middle of the field. As I said, Commercials dominated the kick out, but if you went back and looked at the highlights, I'd say Jack Kennedy got his hands on a hell of a lot of those kick outs and started the momentum for Commercials. So great to see Jack back to his very best, because I think he's been one of the best footballers in the county has produced, certainly in the last 10 years. So hopefully he can continue that form into the Munster campaign, because next Saturday he's going to come up against Ian Maguire for St Finbarrs, and that's a battle worth travelling a long way to see.
Finally, on that, you referenced Commercial's really good record in Semple Stadium. You had the choice to go wherever you wanted for the game next Saturday against Finbarrs. Did Semple Stadium come into that conversation, or was it always going to be Clonmel?
Would always be Clonmel, Ronan. I mean, in fairness, in other years, probably the pitch wasn't up to the standard we wanted. But and again, like everything, thanks to Philly Ryan, got a phone call from him last November to know that if he pushed to play some National League games in Clonmel, would we be able to host it? And it kind of, made us made us get up and make it happen, and we did, and we hosted the Longford game and the Wicklow game and then the Tailteann Cup game against Kildare. So I suppose there's a recent track record, and look, it's fair to say, Ronan, that it's a joint effort. Like our colleagues and friends in St Mary's have worked really, really well with us, and we with them, to get the pitch back to be ready to host matches like this. And Saturday will be a huge day. We hosted Dr. Crokes there in a Munster club game in 2017, and this will be the first one since. I know St Finbarrs because they were on today, and the Munster Council were on with a whole list of stuff as well. But St Finbarrs are bringing 4 buses up on Saturday, so there could be a great atmosphere in the Western Road, and hopefully people from not just Clonmel, but from around the county or the division will travel in. I think this could be a game to savour if the weather gods are kind to us. I think this could be a really, really good game, and the winner of this game next Saturday could go very close to being Munster club champions, Ronan, I would think.
I think JBM is on the line for them. He's a selector, I think. One of their favourite sons. Yeah.
Jimmy Barry Murphy is a selector, and again, I mean, all conversations seem to come back to Philly Ryan, but Commercials played St Finbarrs in the Munster semi-final in 1990 in Cork, in St Finbarrs' home pitch in Ballinlough, and game we won. I think Joe Mack got the all-important goal. But a game made famous because I think there was a clash under a high ball between Philly Ryan and John Allen, who later managed the Cork senior hurlers and the Limerick senior hurlers. And let's just say John Allen came off the worst of it. I think I'm not so sure that it did not just end his participation that day, but I don't know if he ever played again afterwards, because he clashed with
Philly Ryan.
Philly Ryan.
Yeah, it sounds like Alfie Inga Haaland and Roy Keane. Yeah.
Well, we won't go. I don't think there's any intent. I think, in fairness to Philly, he was attacking the ball.
Yeah, I know. I didn't mean it like that. Yeah. Full-blooded.
And John Allen just happened to get in the way. And those of us that were there can still remember the clash.
Excellent.
And but it was a game the Commercials went on to win. So hopefully next Saturday that the history can repeat itself.
Excellent. Listen, I wish you the best of luck, Martin. Thanks for joining us. Many congratulations to you, to Tommy, all the backroom team, and most especially the players on that achievement at the weekend and all that went with it. And onwards. That's all I can say.
Thanks very much, Ronan.
Mind yourself.
Much appreciated.
Take care, Martin. Thanks for that. Take care. Martin Quinlivan, chairman of Clonmel Commercials, joining us there on their 22nd county senior football title. Joining us on commentary duty on last Saturday was Anthony Shelly. He's on the line. How are you, Anthony?
How are you, Ronan?
How was that? Obviously, from what I can understand, I was listening to you rather than watching you, but I got the sense that it was Commercial's best performance of the year, most complete performance, and a very dominant one.
It was particularly the second half, Ronan. Because they hadn't been overly impressive in their last group game against Grange Mokler, and I suppose the circumstances surrounding the Upper Church game, it was just one that they needed to get over. They were probably never going to be at their best, and particularly on a wet day in Cashel, but they got over it. First half, I thought they were kind of nervous. I mean, if you heard an interview with Tommy Morrissey and Paul Carroll after the game, Tommy referenced how disappointed he was that they didn't shore up the middle for the Kilsheelan goal. Kilsheelan were given as good as they got at that stage, and Commercials, I thought they were very slow in getting back and looked a little bit nervous. But my God, the second half, it was probably, Ron, in all my time looking at football, it was probably the most complete performance that I've seen from the team. They were absolutely outstanding. Will
Kilsheelan have regrets that perhaps they didn't lay more of a glove on Commercials?
Look, I mean, us and J.K. Brackens would be the same. We took a similar type of beating back in 2019. They probably, look, Kilsheelan didn't become a bad team overnight. They went through this year, they did an awful lot right. So I don't think they need to reinvent the wheel. They ticked an awful lot of boxes this year. Beating Loughmore was a huge scalp. But they will need to sit down and have an honest conversation with themselves about a few aspects of the game last week. And if they want to kind of stay at the level they are at now, they didn't get to the county final by accident. They got there because they're a damn good team and the second best team in the county this year. But they will need to have a conversation around aspects of their game. Right, last Saturday, like their kickouts, it just seemed they were very one-dimensional. It was all belted down on top of Micheál Freeney.
Not helped though by Evans' departure.
Not helped, but yeah, they will need a bit more variety in it. And Evans' departure had a huge bearing on the game because Evan, like with his experience, and he is able to bring a little bit more variety to the kickouts if he sees they're not going right, not going well. And one thing he maybe can go short with a few, which in fairness to Conor Grant when he came on. His kickouts were fine. He was hitting his target area a lot of the time, and Kilsheelan had the pod set up, but it was just the commercials were winning all the breaks. Like Kilsheelan had 32 kickouts in that game running.
Yeah, but it was like kicking against the wall, like sometimes.
Yeah. Clonmel Commercials won 19 of the 32 Kilsheelan kickouts, and most of that 19 came in the second half, and they scored 114 from the Kilsheelan kickout. Like that's
you're never going to win a match.
Unbelievable stats, and then like everything they did in the second half, like that's the 114 from the Kilsheelan kickout. They scored 117 from play overall. They were 100% on their frees and 60% on their own kick-out. Like, all the stats add up to just a phenomenal performance. Their older players, well, they're more experienced players, all stood up in the day and all performed magnificently.
Yeah, I was going to ask about their Kilsheelan's deployment of Micheál Freeney. I mean, he's such a quality footballer, really, really strong player. But I suppose you can't just start lumping ball. It becomes very easy to play against if commercials can predict what's going to happen to the kick out.
Oh, look, Micheál is a great player, and he battled manfully on the kick out. Like, but I mean, commercials, like, just because he's a big man doesn't mean that everything has to be end down on top of him, because commercials have some equally big men. Like, I mean, Michael Quinlivan was hanging around the middle, Seamus Kennedy, Jack Kennedy, all 6 foot plus. And then once it hit the ground, Ross Peters, who I thought while he was on the field was absolutely immense, picked up an awful lot of the breaks. Yeah, so it is something that they will have to look at. You can't just lump it down on top of the big man all the time. They will need to look at that, but they'll also need to look at how they went about defending. Like, I mean, they sat back and protected the D, and that's fine. That's fine against maybe in the group stages against teams that mightn't have the players to pick the lock. But once you're given good players like commercials have the ball all the time, they eventually find a way of breaking down that. And plus the fact that they were getting so much possession of the kickouts, you were just giving them chance after chance. I thought maybe they would have been better off pushing out and maybe trying to set up their line around the 45 or even a little bit further out. Rather, they were so seemingly concerned. It looked like they were concerned about not conceding goals, but I mean, commercials kicked 26 points. So I just don't think against the better teams that you have to take the chance. You can't give the better teams the ball all the time.
Yeah, that's true. Thoughts turn to Sunday afternoon on the Western Road in Clonmel. St Finbarrs are coming to town. Finbarrs beat Nemo, which in and of itself must make them a very credible outfit.
Yeah, it does. And obviously, any team that goes out of Cork is going to be good. I suppose there is a small little line of form there, and I'm not sure how much you can take it. Like, Finbar struggled over Carbery Rangers earlier in the year in the championship, and commercials played Carbery in a challenge match. I know there's only a challenge match there a couple of weeks ago, maybe before the quarter final or what, and beat them well. So, like, I would say, without knowing much, two good teams, the likes of Ian Maguire, he's been a good player for Cork and Finbarrs for a long time. He'll ask questions of the commercials midfield, but I see this as very much a 50-50 game, particularly in the sports field in Clonmel. I'm delighted that they're playing it down there. It should be a cracking atmosphere. Yeah,
I think it's you got to make home advantage count, and the best way to do that is to pack the place as best you can. I fully agree with you there. We look forward to it with bated breath. Thanks indeed for your time and your contributions, Anthony. We'll talk next week.
No problem, Roland.
Thanks indeed. That's Anthony Shelly joining us there with his thoughts. Let's take a quick break. Back in just a second.
Extra Time on Tip FM is brought to you by Irish Computers Nina, your winning IT partner across the Premier County and beyond. See irishcomputers.ie. The Tip FM Sports Star of the Month with the Talbot Hotel Clonmel. Multi-award winning wedding specialists with state-of-the-art leisure facilities and spa with food served daily.
The Tip FM Sports Star of the Month.
Get your nominations in now.
Yeah, if you have seen something you wish to make a nomination for, we're accepting nominations for November. sportsstar@tipfm.com is where you need to send that nomination. Email sportsstar@tipfm.com. Good evening to Tom McGrath. How are you?
Good, Ronan.
You're looking forward to Sunday, no doubt, Tom. You're heading to Ennis for Loughmore Castellani's Munster semi-final against Éire Óg of Ennis.
I think we'll probably head down anyway and
Have a look.
See what the day brings.
Full bill of health, as far as you know?
I think so. Like, yeah, it's kind of, they're not your biggest job at this stage is trying to fill time. I suppose it's unusual to have a couple of weeks free this time of the year, but I think this year they're probably glad of it. The way things have panned out.
It's a nice for the management to perhaps give them a bit of downtime before they can start to ramp things up, I presume, on Wednesday.
Yeah, well, that's exactly. And yesterday, what was done yesterday, it's no state secret. The players that hadn't been getting game time, it's an opportunity to give them a bit of something. So the Sarsi's under 21 hurlers in a challenge match, good contest now, and well worth the effort. Like, so they got that bit of work in, and they had other distractions probably on the last week, which helps. Well, it takes the mind off the games as well. Like, and it fills the time, and there's other things to think about and talk about, and that besides the game against Éire Óg Ennis, like, which it's not going to be simple. Like, I mean, that's the reality.
And Éire Óg were out this weekend. I don't know. I think you kind of said there's not as much commonality between the football and hurling squads as you might find in, say, Loughmore, for example, or Upperchurch, for another example. But still, in all, there's some commonality. They played, I think, Rathgormack, wasn't it? Yeah. So, it's just a different preparation for both sides.
Yeah, well, I think about 5 or 6 starters, I think. So,
okay.
Like, it's it's good for them as well. It's something else because their championships would have been finished. Football in particular, I think, would have been finished first, and they had a bit of time to kill, if you like. And but they're a decent football team as well. Like, there's no doubt about that. Just proves it can be done. And put a good score yesterday. Kicked. Did Mark McInerney won a goal and 12 points or something like that. Yeah. Kicked a big tally anyway. Like, just shows the value of good forwards in the current game, in the football game in particular. I suppose really, like, this, it's good, and it's nice to see the new rules translating across into decent club matches as well. Although there have been some pretty. 16 points is what he scored yesterday. I was giving him a goal. He can get a goal.
Firstly, as well, we should mention, and congratulations via you to John McGrath, Hurler of the Year. I mean, joins a storied list. Not too many Tipperary men have won Hurler of the Year, but what an achievement for a young fella who's perhaps thought that the best of his inter-county days were behind him, and then he, not the autumn of his years, but in the latter part of his career, he ends up at the highest accolade you can achieve in hurling.
I suppose you could use the term second coming. I suppose really like that. Like the injury in 22, like that took out 22 and 23, and I'd say part of 24 out of his inter-county career now. And I suppose his inter-county scene, because I thought he covered things very well the other night, that kind of the club scene gave him the chance to keep himself in the shop window, and that was by way of tribute to his own his own teammates on the club scene, that they were there and they kept the wheel turning when maybe his shoulder wasn't there to give it the push on, and then when they kept it going, he came back and he was able to build on that, and would have been the main player for the club, like for the last in the double, like, and that type of stuff, and and probably not his fault for being 2023 either. Like, he was only feeling his way back, really, I suppose, and it's one of those injuries that
takes time.
Yeah, it takes time, but there's a mental aspect to it apparently as well, because it's so unexpected. apparently when you get a kill, it's the first thing you look around and say, who hit me? That it's that sort of a snap reaction, and it's then when that happens, there's always a fear that it's going to happen again, but thankfully it didn't, and hopefully it won't.
No, please God, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And just before I let you go, Tom, just your thoughts on commercials. They've just had a glorious golden age of footballers. The likes of the Seamus Kennedys, Michael Quinlivans, Kevin Fahey's. These fellas don't come around every year, and to get them all coming at the same time, it's the fact that some of them have 8 senior titles, it's quite an achievement for that bunch of players.
Without like, and good decent performers on the inter-county stage as well. Like, but I suppose at this stage, I think the depth of their panel and the experience, and that early in the season, I looked at the panel. They print a program for the start of the championship, and all the teams there. My God, look what the commercials have. I mean, I was measuring ourselves against them, said we're going to be in bother with commercials this year, like. But they would have had much the same lads, I suppose, last year as well. But the experience, you can't whack it. And I think they weren't at their best in the earlier stage of the championship. They got through matches and all that, and then they had a decent performance, I suppose, beat my Rovers in the quarter final, wasn't it?
Yeah, but kind of that was stuttery enough performance.
I mean, that was
yeah.
And then they definitely weren't at their best against Upper Church. Now that's not being disrespectful of Upper Church. They're a tough enough crowd to play against, and they would have had their boost in the previous week. But I think the death of Philly impacted on them, I'd say, and that was their first day out, and that was going to be a test. But I think that Sunday then they had a cause, and they had a guy, one of their trademark guys, Seamus Kennedy, as captain. Let's do this for Seamus. Great servant for the club, and great ambassador. And then the Philly factor kicked in as well, that they're doing it for Philly and doing it for Shane and doing it for themselves as well. Like, and big thing about them is that they're a free scoring outfit. I mean, massive score to put up, like, and you'd feel for Kilsheelan, but I think Kilsheelan got the brunt of a kickback from different factors for commercials, and I hope I'm right in this, but I'd say we mightn't have seen the best of commercials just yet. I think they're in a very good position to go forward into Munster now, and they're good at this, and I think the farther they'll go, the better they'll get potentially anyway. Like, and just hope that we'd really wish them well. Like, and I'd be comparing commercials now versus Loughmore Castlane last year, and I think that they're a couple of steps above where we were last year, and in a very good position to maybe emulate the team of 15. I heard that it was 10 years ago. Like.
It is 10 years ago, yeah. And
yeah. Will we ever forget it?
No, I'll never forget the rain. Listen, I let you go.
Cover there anyway. Like,
yeah.
But, great credit to them, and commiseration to Kilsheelan as well.
Yeah.
Big
day for them. Yeah.
Big day for them, and pity that it ended up the way it did. Like, but look, they'll be back.
I've no doubt about it. They have quality footballers in Kilsheelan, and there's no two ways about it. They're really, really good footballers. We'll talk about next week as well, Tom, so I'll let you go.
Yeah. Okay, Ronan.
Thanks indeed. Best of luck as well, by the way, Tom, next weekend. Looking forward to it. Yeah, I hope it goes well. Tom McGrath on his views ahead of that Loughmore Castlane Éire Óg of Ennis game, which of course you'll be able to hear live here on Tip FM. Another significant win at the weekend as well was in the Junior Munster Club Championship, Clonmel Óg winning. John Crotty's on the line. How are you, John?
How's going on?
Congratulations on that win. You had to go all the way to Clonmel, was it?
Yeah. Up to Clonmel to play. We played Clonmel. The ferry goes across there.
Yeah, I was going to say you're halfway across the Atlantic when you get to Clonmel.
Yeah, as the crow flies, I suppose we were about 3 miles from the west coast, so different kind of conditions than we've used to.
Yeah. Listen, it's been a hell of a year for the Óg, not just in football but in hurling as well. That's very pleasing, I would imagine.
Yeah, no, we won the Junior A hurling as well at the South, and look, we hope to progress a little bit further. We ran into a good Nina team in the quarter final of the Junior A hurling, and then we kind of took off in the football really strong then and gave it a right good rattle. We decided we'd have a good rattle at it, and we won the Premier Junior, the new competition that's there, and it was great for the club. And the lads then decided after winning that last week that we'd have a cut at this and see where it took us. So we trained on Tuesday, Thursday, went back at it and headed up to West Clare on Saturday. In fairness to the lads, the work rate was unreal, and they got over the line comfortably enough in the end.
Do you feel, John, that Clonmel are beginning to grow into their clothes? What I mean by that is, if you look at the size of your catchment, you perhaps should be operating at a higher level than you have been in recent years.
Yeah, and look, we would like to operate at a higher level, and probably have operated at a higher level, going back to years and we were playing senior football. But, I think there's a lot of work being done at the juvenile club. Last Saturday, we started with 821 players, which is for those young fellas to come on and go to West Clare and win. It's really, really good. We've had a few county minors now coming up for next year as well, so we try and build on that. But as you know yourself, Ronan, winning anything is not easy. And getting up through those divisions, Tipperary is a huge county. It's not easy to get up, but that would be our ambition. Yeah, we want to get back up, into the top levels of football and kind of try and move on to hurling as well.
And one of your difficulties, not wishing to look too far ahead, but 3 teams came down from senior this year into that intermediate championship that you're going up to. It'll be a bit of a bear pit.
Oh, the intermediate championship next year is going to be, absolutely. With the 3 senior teams that came down, and look at Rockwell, really, really strong team.
Really good team, yeah. Really good players.
Thurles put it up to the Cork champions yesterday, 5 points in the intermediate. That was a good performance as well. So that competition is really, really strong. But look, I suppose to improve, you have to play at higher levels.
You do.
So that's what we want to do. We want to be up there. And as I said, we did kind of 8 under 21 starting yesterday. Those guys are buying into it and, drive it on together, and we have a few minors coming up, and, everyone's shoulders to the wheel together is the plan.
Kerry opposition next, I understand.
Yeah, Ballymcgilligan. So
okay.
I was just looking it up earlier there, and the junior championship was inaugurated, I think, that All Ireland in 2001, 2002, and 11 times the Kerry team have won it since then. So it's half of the championships they've won. They have a different grading system down there.
Oh, they do. You can come up against All Ireland winners with the way they set the things up down there,
And with the divisional teams as well, some of these guys are probably playing,
senior,
West Kerry or East Kerry.
I remember a few years ago, I can't remember who it was, a Tipperary junior team went and played against, but Aidan McGarrett was playing for the opposition, and he had 2 or 3 All Irelands, and I just thought how unfair it would be as a junior footballer. But your club's your club, so maybe I shouldn't give out too much, because fellas are playing for their parish.
Fossil won it, so. Yeah, 2 years ago, Fossil won the All Ireland
with them. Yeah, that's right. With the 2 boys playing the Cliffords. Yeah. Look, where is that this weekend, John?
No, it's the weekend after. So it's Saturday the 22nd.
In a Kerry venue or?
No, Tipperary venue.
Have you decided?
No, we're working on it at the minute. I suppose ideally we would play in the sports field, but depending on
rain is the first thing you need to consider.
Depending on how commercials get on next week, we wish them the best of luck against St. Finbarrs. They could be playing at home against their old the following day. So obviously, if that's going on, that field wouldn't be available. So we'd see, it'll be in a South Tipperary venue, hopefully, and hopefully, I heard Martin on earlier on, and hopefully the people come out and support it and follow the local teams. Oh
yeah, look, Munster Championship games locally don't happen all the time. I didn't want this weekend to go by without paying due tribute to what you've achieved so far this year in hurling to a certain extent, but particularly in football, John. Many congratulations to you. We look forward to that game in a fortnight's time.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Not all the best. That's John Crotty, who's the manager of Clonmel, after their win in the Munster Football Championship over Clonmel of Clare, and now they face Ballymcgilligan of North Kerry, and that'll take place in a Clonmel venue in a fortnight's time. Noel Dundon's on the line. How are you, Noel?
Good evening, Ron. How are things?
There's loads of things I want to talk to you about, but I'll start with the All-Stars, and I'm going to start with a confession. I kind of lost my love of the All-Stars after 2016, when neither Paddy nor Shamey got Hurler of the Year, and I gave up on the whole thing after that and thought the whole thing was a farce and needed a massive overhaul. 7 All-Stars for Tip. I suppose the absolute minimum we deserved would be the way I'd look at that.
Yeah, have you changed your mind?
No, I haven't. I still don't like it. Do you know what I don't like about it is sometimes players are shoehorned into positions that they actually don't play in.
I know.
And that's just to fit them in. And the great Declan Brown, when he won his second All-Star, was selected, and I think it was a source of irritation to him that he was selected at half-forward, having not played in the half-forward line at all that year. And his attitude perhaps was, if I wasn't the best inside forward in the country that year, then don't pick me in the half-forward line. Yeah. But anyway, look, are you a convert to it? I'm not.
I'm not totally taken with it, to be perfectly honest with you, Ronan. To me, you win your All-Ireland, and I think most of the Tipperary panel would say that's the thing, win the All-Ireland, and they'll be getting their All-Ireland medals, and that's the ultimate, really. The All-Stars, the individual awards, they're very sort of subjective. I mean, I was talking to a man on Saturday who was quite put out that Kyle Hayes didn't get an All-Star, and he had a fair point that Kyle Hayes had a really, really good campaign for Limerick, and then in the next breath he was also quite put out that Brian O'Mara didn't get an All-Star, and I kind of said to him, well, they can only pick 15, so we all have people that we think maybe should have gotten All-Star.
I think Young English, perhaps from Limerick, was probably a better shout than Kyle Hayes, personally.
Yeah, and I mean, I wouldn't have had an awful lot of argument if he had to win the Young Hurler of the Year, or Robert Doyle for that matter, and it was probably a bit strange that Darren McCarthy won the Young Hurler of the Year without winning an All-Star. They often...
Different vote panel, though.
Sorry?
Different voting panel.
Yeah, exactly, yeah, but they often kind of, nearly run concurrently too, though, but, I mean, for all that, for Tipperary's Hall of All-Stars, I think it was fitting, and it was befitting the year that we had, and that we ended up having. All of our players who were nominated were well deserving of the nominations, and I think the 7 who got the All-Stars were certainly deserving of their positions. It's a fair old representation, almost half the team from the county, and, the few newcomers too, first timers, which kind of bodes well for us too going forward, please God.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe if we win 7 every year, maybe I'll be converted back to my love of All-Star events. But anyway,
it's a small ask.
I think it's important as well to acknowledge that inter-county players are pretty much back now at inter-county training, and it just seems the downtime is so small, because they were all involved with their clubs up until relatively recently. And we need to acknowledge, I think, the life of an inter-county player. I think it was one of Paddy Small or John Small, who recently retired from the Dublin panel, says it's about 30 hours a week to do something, which is almost a full-time, most jobs are 32, 36 hours a week. To give 30 hours a week to inter-county, to be an inter-county footballer with no guarantee of success, is essentially a second job, and I'm not so sure people really, really understand the sacrifices that are required in order to be inter-county.
Yeah, I think certainly when it comes to players maybe performing poorly and the kind of criticism that's levelled at them then because they didn't happen to have a good match on a particular day is certainly unwarranted when you see the kind of work that goes into it. And I've been in around Dr. Morris Park quite a bit during winter times and watching the training and lads really, really slogging it out there in the muck and dirt and dark and rain and frost and all sorts of conditions. And that's only what you see. They're also doing, 2-3 nights in the gym as well. But the point about it, I suppose, Ron, is that for the 40 players that will be there on the panel, there's another 120 who will give their right arm to be in there as well, and would love to get that phone call from Liam Carr or from Niall Fitzgerald, and I suppose the other thing too is that when players get to that level, they're elite, obviously, but the training is a way of life for them, and if they don't have the training, there's something missing for them. I'm not taking it all from what you're saying. It is an incredible commitment to do what they do. But I would have seen plenty of lads, for instance, when Tip had finished after winning the All Ireland, and they're still in the gym a couple of nights a week, just keeping themselves ticking over because it's what they do and it's what they've become accustomed to as part of their normal daily routine. And there's the other point then as well, I suppose, that no inter-county player or prospective inter-county player can afford to take the foot off the pedal for 2 months, 3 months during the year. You have to keep ticking over. You have to keep doing a little bit all the time, so that when you do go back in at the end of November or beginning of December, or whatever the case may be, you're not way behind, because the effort to catch up will be just huge, you know.
I noticed during the week is a story broken, I think, by Keane Tracy, of the players who are brought in, who have been invited in, some of the very young players who've been invited into the senior panel, who've come out of Brendan Cummins' under 20 panel.
Yeah.
The optics of that, I think, are really interesting for young players in this county, because what I think Liam and Mikey are signalling to them is there is a path to senior inter-county from a successful under 20 career.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, we've 3 guys who played massive parts in Tipperary success at senior level this year, in Darren McCarthy, Sam O'Farrell and Oisin O'Donoghue, who were in that panel.
Darren's under 20 next year, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And you know, they've sort of paved the way. But I think the it's an interesting point that you make about the optics. Sometimes you could say, you know, we've won in All Ireland Senior. There's not going to be much change in the panel next year because it's a relatively young panel anyway. But like, we always kind of look over the border to see what Brian Cody would have done with Kilkenny, and there was always new faces appearing in the panel, in the background, to keep things fresh and all of that. And I think that's essential in a team, because if players become too accustomed to marking each other in training and get too comfortable in that environment, well, there tends to be a little bit of a softness maybe develops. Whereas if you're kept on your toes all the time, which is exactly what they had this year, players are on their toes. If you look at the panel that played in the league final against Cork, compare that to the panel that played in the All Ireland final against Cork, there was a lot of changes between team players and between the 26 or whatever it was. Quite a few changes, and that's a reflection of the way that the panel has evolved as a result of the players working hard, as a result of some players finding form, as a result of others maybe losing form. And you know, obviously injuries can come into it as well, but thankfully we didn't suffer too many injuries this year. But I think that's what really keeps the thing fresh, Ronan. And if you don't have that freshness, you know, it becomes a little bit stale and a little bit sad. And we've had that in the past, but we certainly didn't have it this year in 25, you know.
Just before I let you go, I understand that you're entering into the publishing realm again. We will talk to you closer to Christmas in relation to this. You essentially charted a phenomenal year for Tipperary hurling in your latest publication, from the depths of despair, really, where we couldn't get out of Munster and couldn't win a match last year.
Yeah, I suppose it's a story that just has to be told, you know. It's entitled From the Ashes, and it'll be available in the next couple of weeks. And yeah, it does that. It starts at the tail end of last year, and when we were in the depths of despair, and when we trudged out of Semper Stadium with our tails between our legs, and we wondered, would we ever win a game again? And we looked at Cork and at Clare.
Do you know, one of the most frequent texts I got after that game against, was it Cork, the last game in Semple last year? Clare was it? Oh God, yeah. I'm sorry, I tried to erase these from my memory, but one of the most common things that came in on text the week after that was, this will be the decade where we won't win All Ireland. And that really, really animated people, that the thought that we were so far behind everyone else that we could go a decade and lose our historical boast that we were the only county to win an All Ireland in every decade. And that worried people. And I just, the sense of relief was one thing that entered my mind when the final whistle went in Croke Park last July.
Yeah, and like, it would have been a shame to have lost that. Now, obviously, we would have had another few years to have a go at it, but I think...
But that was the perception in the county at the time. That was how dark things were.
Yeah, you're dead right. We were looking like that it was going to take quite a few years to develop something, you know, and that's what has made the 25 campaign so spectacular. Because we came from such a low point at the end of 2024 to being at the very top of the mountain in 2025, and I suppose, like, you know, Cork has been across all of it, because we suffered our biggest humiliation probably last year against Cork in Semple Stadium when they absolutely ran us ragged. They did the same to us in the league final and the same to us in the championship, although there was a big asterisk beside that game following, Darren McCarthy's early sending off and that. And then, of course, the glory day of All-Ireland final day when everything came right.
I'm only thinking this now as you're talking, and you talk about Cork being all over it. Do you remember when Liam was manager of was he minor or under 20s? I think it was under 20s, and Cork beat us up a stick in a Munster final, but we stayed in the championship. And Liam said, we really have to atone for this. And we went to that Munster final, I think it was in Limerick.
The All-Ireland was in Limerick.
The All-Ireland was in Limerick, and we beat them with a last-minute goal. One of the Stakelums. Yeah, there you go. One of the Stakelums got the goal at the end. And it was a sense that we had to atone for what happened. When you scratched under the surface of the 2025 All-Ireland, do you think atonement for last year was an element of what we ultimately saw? And there's a lot more I want to talk to you about this, and we will in due course. But just that one element of it, do you think was there?
Yeah, I think there's an element of that, but I think also, and from kind of studying the thing and being sort of close enough to the thing there and watching the training and all that, I think there was an element of the lads saying, we have a unique opportunity here. Forget about what happened last year. This is a game to play, and this is a game that we want to be playing, and this is a game that we've worked in all year long. But I think also that I've referenced this in the past. I think if you go back to the 2014 All Ireland against Kilkenny, where the drawing game, the bubbles, the wire free that went wide or whatever, and then we went out in the replay 3 weeks later. And we tried to hurl Kilkenny in exactly the same way as we had done in the drawing game. And Kilkenny said, no, not happening. Different type of game entirely. We were shut down totally. And I think myself that Tipperary did that to Cork this year, in that Tip decided if we go to play Cork on the same terms as we played them in the league final and in the second round of the championship, we ain't going to get anywhere. So we have to change things up. And they come up with this master plan, which was executed to perfection. Yeah, absolutely executed to perfection with Brian O'Mara at the fulcrum, at the heart of the defence. And that was the thing that caught Cork totally unawares. Yeah. We were very unfortunate, Ronan, to go in 6 points down at half time in that All Ireland.
You're absolutely right. Noel, I look forward to chewing the fat with that closer to publication date, and the best of luck with it. We'll talk in due course.
Thanks, Ronan.
Not at all, Noel. Thanks for your time. Noel Dundon there. From the Ashes, we published very soon. I'm sure you'll see it on a lot of social media in the lead up to Christmas, and I struggle to use the C word so early in the year, but what a fine Christmas gift that might be for somebody in your life. Barry Ryan, thanks for holding on for me. How are you?
How are you, Ronan?
Lots to talk about, Barry. It might even get to Thursday night if we've time. But the second round of the Tipperary Cup took place this weekend. We'll come to Clonmel Town's win, I think first win of the season. Strange thing to say, in the 10th and 11th of November. Yeah. But Old Bridge 3, 2 Mulbarrows 5. What an 8-goal belter in Green Lane.
Yeah, I'm not going to give out any more about Burrs conceding too many goals because that'll get boring. Look, they've won the game. Fair play to Old Bridge. We said it a couple of weeks ago on the show. You always get goals in Green Lane, and they rallied in the game. Burrs had gone 4 goals clear, and Old Bridge came back at them, stormed into the game. And look, it's a real thriller in Tipperary Cup at the Green Lane.
I'd say I hope people got to see that because that was probably a thriller. Tipperary Town will have designs on promotion this year, and they'll go toe to toe, I think, with Wilderness in Division 1, but they'll be disappointed to go down to Ballingarry. Credit Ballingarry.
Yeah, look, Ballingarry, that's a great result. It's a real classic cup game as well, and always a difficult place to go to play Ballingarry in anything. They're always physical and up for the battle, and that's a great result. And even in the mention of Wilderness there as well, Wilderness play Broadford in the FA or in the Munster Junior Cup this weekend, and if they win, it'll be the first time in their history they'll be into the last 16 of the Munster Junior Cup, which would be an incredible achievement. So fair play to Eric Keane and everybody up in the Wildies. They're going from strength to strength.
They're stuck 10 past Tiptown B at the weekend, so the goals aren't an issue for them.
They're flying it. And look, another team that scored 10 at the weekend was Peak Villa. But even just before we touch on that, Padraig Dwyer, better known to people as Puddy, passed away from a short illness at the weekend. Probably the most decorated manager in Peak Villa's history. Managed the club to win the league, the Tipperary Cup and the Munster U Cup. He stands alone in that, and was also a decorated player for the club and a brilliant manager. Someone who was tactically brilliant, was able to just manage to win big games and stuff when he was in charge. And he'd be a huge loss to everybody in Thurles, and just want wanted to pay tribute to him tonight because he was a big club man up in Big Villa and would be a regular every single Sunday. So I know even around the county he'd be very respected in Clonmel and Michaels and places as well.
I'm really glad you told me that. I hadn't heard, and condolences to his family. I do remember interviewing for that Munster Youth Cup final.
Yeah, that was a magnificent win.
I remember that, yeah. Yeah, that's right. I remember it well, yeah.
With a certain Paul Breen getting the winner.
Gosh, yeah. You're going back now, really, yeah. I remember that night, yeah. Clonmel Town finally got a win. I'm delighted for them. I'm delighted for Ian Cleary, to be honest with you, because I don't know if it eases pressure. It's a cup game and they were playing SC and K United. But let's just say fair play to them. They've got a win. Let's see what comes from that.
Yeah, look, there's a couple of notable things. Fred French Davis, only 15 years of age, got a hat-trick in the game. A younger brother of Jake French Davis. He's a real talent. So that was brilliant. And great for Ian to be putting his trust in young players. He's only 15. He's only 15, Fred French Davis, yeah.
No, it's just like you're going up against seasoned adults, you know.
16, maybe 15 or 16 anyway. He's a really young player, Fred, anyway. Maybe 16, but he's a brilliant young talent. He had a little stint with Carlow Kilkenny in the Under-17 League of Ireland as well. And I know the club really rate him. So that was excellent for him. And I think for Ian as well, look, Ian Cleary is so experienced, he won't be panicking. It'll be great to get into the next round of the Cup. And I'm confident they'll get the points they need in the league as well as things progress.
Did I miss anything? Any other standout fixtures for you?
No, I think it's all eyes on the Munster Junior Cup next weekend. We mentioned the Broadford game. So St Michael's will play Ballymackey for Nortip, which will be interesting. Ballymackey scored, I think, 8 goals against Holy Cross at the weekend. They're the one team in Nortip that's absolutely motoring. So it'll be interesting to see, comparing the two standards, where Ballymackey are at now when they come to Cook Park. That'll be an interesting game, I'd say, for people to get out there and see the weekend as well.
As always, Barry, thanks for your time.
Thanks so much, Ronan.
Not at all. Barry Ryan joining us there. That's all we've time for. Ian O'Connor produced tonight. We'll be back to you next weekend. Good night and good luck.
Online.
On your smartphone.
On your smart speaker.
Play Tip FM.
It's 8 o'clock. Good evening. I'm